Here's the cautionary tale. When you are now going to look for your next head coach, there's a couple of things that you need to get. This analytics thing is, life is about the pendulum. Sometimes it swings this way, and then sometimes it swings back the other way. And when you look at the pendulum in terms of what the Cleveland Browns are doing, the analytics pendulum swung too far. Everybody knows about stats, and we all use stats. Stats are used in every, and data and numbers and information have been used since the beginning of time. So it's nothing new. But here's your problem. We've let people infiltrate the game so much where guys don't have any experience or knowledge playing the game. There's no nuts and bolts of the football roots. Some of the core tenets of what football is, what it means, and more than anything, they have taken the relationships and the human relationships and communication out of the building. And the problem is everybody is operating as if people are robots and they do not have problems, that they don't have issues, that they need to be motivated, that they need to have a level of accountability. That is the major piece when it comes to coaching. And that's a huge part of what coaching is that is devoid at all levels in this organization. When I was in leadership and I had 30 direct reports from, people that were older than me, younger than me, people that, were married, maybe divorced, from all different walks of life. The thing that I quickly understood was anybody can hammer people with numbers. And I could deliver numbers to people and say, hey, your metrics are down. Let's talk about how we get your metrics up, right? But what if the reason their metrics is down has something to do with what they're going through as a person or an individual? What if their metrics are down, and maybe because maybe their talk time is up, or maybe we're getting denials, and maybe why their production at work is going down is because of something else outside of it. People need to know that you care about them individually, and that you do care about their individual goals, and that you do care about them as people, but also that you believe in them in the group collectively. And so much now that we're doing is we are now reducing people and people's will, their heart, their integrity, their passion for a number. You just don't look at a receiver and say, that receiver is 6'1". This receiver is 6'1". The guy over here, his 40 time is a 10th faster. And we could get him in the 5th round instead of this guy in the 2nd. Did you take into account for the guy's work ethic? Did you take into account the guy's family background? Did you take into account his motivation, what motivates him to get up every single day? Did you interview him correctly? There's no way you could take Anthony Schwartz over Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can't. How was that possible? How could you take a Jed Wills and not take Christian Wirfs? How is that possible? How is it that you can look at Dillon Gabriel as a top 100 quarterback when obviously, based on his size, his ability, his measurables, that wasn't the case. So the problem with analytics, and a lot of times why the Cleveland Browns are where they are today, is because they believe that they are end-all be-all, smarter than everybody. And when you got a bunch of guys in Ivy League, we've told people in the Ivy League that it is their birthright to run the world. Corporations, judges, the judicial system, the financial markets, sports, entertainment, record labels, Hollywood. We've told them that it is their birthright because they are smart, that they get everything off. So when you question them about anything, they come off as you simple-minded person. Just let us handle it. And how dare you question our leadership and what we're trying to do? Because obviously our plan is so much higher than what you can even comprehend. It's the reason why they can't answer no questions straight. It's the reason why they can't answer no questions. It's the reason why they give you lame questions or answers. This is the reason they're flippant. The reason they got an attitude half the time, and they cannot be in the same room with people without rubbing them the wrong way. If that's happening to you, can you imagine what they're doing when they're coaching? I mean, heck, the Kansas City Chiefs done won Super Bowls after Super Bowls after Super Bowls. I talked to Darren Smith, and Darren's like, hey, we can watch practice all we want, and we can take film. Guess what? Our guys, our beat reporters, they get to watch people stretch and then come back and ask the questions that they want them to ask, and then they don't even answer that. But they still always feed you propaganda. That's the problem. It ain't analytics. It's the spirit of what analytics stands for. The spirit of analytics means we are just smarter than everybody else. And even though we don't have a track record and we're losing games, we'll tell you we're tanking and you believe it. And why that's good and why we should never get fired. We like this quarterback even though nobody else likes him because we're smarter. Don't question us. Yeah, we'll sit that player down, even though he's a better of the two quarterbacks, and we won't even answer a question about what he's doing in practice or what is the timetable. I don't want to speculate. You could get that away for a little bit. You can get that off for a little bit, but after you do that for a long enough period of time, the act wears thin. We start to wake up a little bit that you're just putting a nice smiley face on losing, and you're cashing checks all the way to the bank. I always thought it was funny that coaches' contracts were never divulged. I always thought it was funny that coaching contracts were never out there in the public sphere. You know why? Because they use players' contracts as a way to control the narrative. If a player isn't doing something, it's easy to say, and you make how much money? How much money are you making? So now you could play both sides against the middle. You could use the fans' outrage against the players so that you can skew it in a specific way. The reason why they put it on the front page of the paper. But try to find the salary of a general manager or a head coach and how many years they got. I guarantee you don't find it. That omission is not by chance. It is what they do. There's a reason why Paul DePodesta, he's the chief strategy officer, and you don't know what he does. He never is on record. He's never on camera. There's a reason for that. It's so that you can dodge accountability because you can always play plausible deniability. Well, what does he really do? How do we know he was really the problem? And if Kevin Stefanski only says is we got to be better, how is that taking accountability? That's called deflection. But what really happens, and this is why you can either like me now or discuss this later, but you always gonna have to come around to it. Reality of the situation is, I told you from the beginning, it sounds cute in the offseason to write all the stories and it's pro Browns and pro Stefanski and it's going to be 2-3 years and we're going to get a stadium and our quarterback's in 26 and so-and-so's not ready to play. That's cute. But when the season starts happening and people are using their money and people are showing up to the stadium, that runs thin very quickly because we have television. It's the most popular sport in America. And people are going to see that what you were saying was one big sham. It was a ruse. You never had any intentions of doing. And by the way, we're not going to give you any out cards. I'm not going to say, well, they were tanking. No. You are judged by wins and losses and performance. You can't throw for 200 yards. You refuse to take the quarterback out that we all know is not performing well and was never hit. And you refuse to get your offense together. You handed the playbook over 2 years in a row. This year it won't work because we're still going to be looking at you, Kevin, at the end of the day and say, you're the head guy and the buck stops with you.